Welcome back to round 2 here in Lucerne of the Storechampionship Ursulas return. We're here once again at table 1 and we are having another mirror match, but this time not Emerald Steel. This time we have Sapphire Steel versus Sapphire Steel on table 1. We see on the left side player 1 has already won a Storechampionship last weekend. Player 2 on the other side, it's his first Storechampionship. Player 1 decided to mulligan 3 cards, player 2 decided to mulligan 2. So these Sapphire Steel mirror matches, there's certain cards that are backbreaking if they resolve, and one of them has to be Cogsworth. Cogsworth basically breaks the entire board. It shuts down Tinkerbell, it makes Grab Your Sword terrible, it reduces Smash and Baboom to basically useless cards. So we see player 1 inking Big Tinkerbell, playing here a Popsicle, going for the ideal play 1. Player 2 inking Rise of the Titans, also playing a Popsicle, drawing a card and passing the turn. Inking an Argus, playing a Smee, passing the turn here from player 1, and we'll see if player 2 can match this, or if he maybe has a jump ahead, or what does he have to contest. Inks a Baboom and plays a 40 Sphere for 1 and a Popsicle for 2. So redraws here, tries to find the ramp or the Cogsworth that is needed. Player 2 inking Big Simba here and plays a Mickey Mouse Detective, and quest for 2 goes to 2 lower. Let's see, player 2 here set up his sphere for the Cogsworth from player 1, so he has to think about this here. He has a Flaversham in hand, could potentially play that, draw another 2 cards. Oh sorry, he's on, no, that's Storm Rage on. He's on only 3 ink. But gets rid of that Smee and draws a card. So player 1 plays here a Flaversham. Sacrifice the Popsicle to draw 2 cards. Both players' hands looking healthy. Quest with the Mickey Mouse Detective for 1 goes to 3 lore. He's an Argus and passes the turn. Ooh, and player 2 finds a Cogsworth here. Has to think about setting this Cogsworth up. Inking as 40 Sphere, inks, plays a Fishbone Quill, inks a card, plays another Popsicle to redraw, and passes the turn. So both players ramping once, and we'll see if player 1 finds here the first Cogsworth to lock down the board, or potentially set up Lucky Dime. So he plays Fishbone Quill, activates that card to ink one of his hands card, quests with Flaversham, goes to 4, draws 2 cards. Can still ink irregularly, face up, inks another Fishbone Quill, and plays a Grandma Tala, the Storyteller. So we can look at the top 2 cards, choose one of those cards, put it into his hand, and the other one below his deck. Is happy with what he's seen and goes to 6 lower here. Turn, so you see for 4, plays F Flaversham, draws 2 cards. Has to think about the potential risks. His opponent on 7 inks another Fishbone Quill. Inks a card with Fishbone Quill and plays an Argus. And another Popsicle for a redraw. And passes the turn. So grab your sword or Tinkerbell is still a really decent card here. Even Simba, the 7-drop, is quite good. Can take out an Argus or damage the Flaversham or even dig. Player 1 here has sadly no item to draw off with the Flaversham. Maybe has found one in hand, inks a Baboon, and for 8 that should be a Tamatoa. Gets back a Fishbone Quill. I think will quest at least with one character, goes to 7 and passes the turn. So player 2 needs to find the Tamatoa here, has a good setup, especially with Lucky Dime, but the time is running out. Player 1 played the Tamatoa more for value. Player 2 goes to 1 lore and draws 2 cards with the sacrifice of the Popsicle through the Flaversham. Inks a Flaversham here. Ideally finds a Tamatoa. For 5 we get, it looks like the Cogsworth. This will actually help quite a bit. It's not the most oppressive card, but it's still quite good. Inks card through Fishbone Quill and plays another Flaversham, sacrificing a Popsicle to draw 2 cards. So the Argus should take out here the Mickey. Yes, thanks to the Cogsworth resist, and will pass the turn. So player 2 has way more board control. The problem he's facing currently, he would ideally like to find Tamatoa to get some control, or find a second Cogsworth to just go all out. Plays a Fortress Sphere when player 1 draws a card. And we see what he wants to play here. He has still 7 ink open without inking. For 3, Fishbone Quill. Can choose to ink a card here before questing with the Flaversham for the card draw. And chooses to ink a card. Quest with Tamatoa for a total of 3. Gets back a Popsicle into his hand. So he also has that option. He quests for 1, sacks the Fortress Sphere, draws 2 cards. And we saw there is a Cogsworth in hand and gets immediately played. Casts a long game Zeus and banishes the Argus. Inks a Baboon, plays another Popsicle. He retrieves from his graveyard and passes the turn. We'll see what player 2 will do here. That looked like a Tamatoa, that is a Tamatoa. He's on 9, so potentially Tamatoa, get back a Popsicle, draw a card, and he could potentially set up. He has the Lucky Dime in hand. He needs to set it up to finish it out faster than his opponent. He has more items in play, so he could potentially set this up. So we'll see. For 8, Tamatoa comes into the play, retrieves a Popsicle. He will probably also play that Popsicle, draw a card. That's another Tamatoa. I think he needs to set the Tamatoa up, so potentially ink ink, play popsicle, and maybe even fishbowl. Not needed. Ooh, there's also an aerial, which will help as well. We'll see what he decides to do here. Player 1 going for a Ricola to help with his throat, while player 2 decides here what to do, and we see Fishbone Quill getting activated, and I think there was a Simba that got inked. So he has it open. Let me calculate. He still has 2 ink open. So my question here is he not playing? Ooh, that is really risky. Quests here for a total of 4 goes to 5. We saw in player 1's hand there is a lucky dime, so the quest for 4 won't do enough here, and he should have enough to play it and activate it. So there is the lucky dime here. Quest with Tamatoa for a total of 4. Gets back a sphere, and player 2 realized that he's out of the game, that the dime here goes for another 5 with the sphere, and can quest or finish the questing here with the rest of the board. So they will go to a game 2, and we'll see how this turns out. We're going into game 2 of round 2. Starting player will be the player on the right, player 2, and we will see if he can bounce back here and go into a game 3. So we saw in mirror matches what makes a big difference is getting that Tamatoa early, or getting the Cogsworth board early, especially with Smees. Last game player 2 had the problem that he had a lot of the popsicles and spheres, but he had nothing really payoff in the end where he could quest for a lot. So that was a big struggle for him. We'll see how it goes this turn. Looking player 1 looking like inking 2 here. Still unsure. Actually inking 5. Keeping 2. They won't already mulligan, so they missed that. So we see in the opening hand of player 2 Fishbone Quill holding Whirl, the Cogsworth at Tamatoa. There is, I think, another Cogsworth, and there 2 starting here inks a Tamatoa and passes the turn. So no turn 1 play, no popsicle. There is from player 2 a Fishbone Quill into a 40 sphere. Gets that early card draw. Ooh, and player 2 inking a Cogsworth for a Smee. This could actually come back to haunt him. Player 2 here also playing a Smee, inking a 40 sphere. Player 2 drawing a big Tinkerbell. Ideal play for him here is finding Mickey, but doesn't have him, so he's going for a Fishbone Quill, inking along came Zeus, so we'll see the Cogsworth next turn. Player 2 inking again Matala, playing also Fishbone Quill, inking Tamatoa, and playing a Popsicle to draw a card, questing for 2 and passing the turn. So this could also be quite impactful that player 2 didn't quest here for that 2 with the Smee, but I think he doesn't want to risk the Smee to die, but then he trades the Smee Okay. So I think the Cogsworth here is still the best play. I think ink the Mickey that he just drew, the Mickey Mouse Detective, with the Fishbone Quill, play the Cogsworth, but he goes for an early bell here. Still inks the Mickey and inks Fishbone Quill and passes the turn. Okay, so player 1 here should be in a way better position. Player 2 has 1 card in hand, 1 bell, and a total of 6 inks, so this bell is actually not that scary at all. You can just board deploy here, you don't even need to take care of it, so that should be fine. So we'll see, player 2 still has 4 ink and has that Flaversham, sacrifices a sphere, draws 2 cards, so he can Fishbone Quill, ink something from his hand, and then still ink normally, and he should be in a fabulous spot. Even has an Argus to contest this bell, so player 2 should probably be almost out of this game. Here a Popsicle, Fishbone Quill, inks a card, I think that was to let the Storm Rage on, and plays a whole new world. So player 2 discarded Rise of the Titans, that is a Flaversham and a Mickey Mouse Detective. So player 2 still has 1 open and can still ink. So inks the Smee here. There comes a Baboon on Argus to kill that. He can still ink an additional card since he has the bell in play. Inks the bell card. Yes, this is fine. He's counting currently if he has 10 cards. I'm counting 9. There is a sphere to draw a card. So the bell is probably not questing here, since it's only for 1. And passes the turn. So we'll see what the player 2 now with a completely new hand will do. We saw he has a whole new world also in hand. Quest of Flaversham here, sacrifices a Popsicle to draw 2 cards and finds the lucky dime, one of the other key cards in this matchup, next to Cogsworth. So he currently has 6 ink, can potentially double ink, he has a Fishbone Quill even, so it looks like he's setting up for his whole new world. He has double Fishbone Quill, could potentially ink 2 cards here with the quills, and then a whole new world if he so desires, or play his Sportmore out. He found that looks like a Cogsworth. So he found a Cogsworth and a Popsicle to redraw, and this is an ideal setup he has for next turn to whole new world if he so desires to get that pressure. Still has a Lucky Dime also in hand, so that can help him a lot. So I think one of the contentious plays here is the Aerial, the item collector, which could potentially quest here for a total of 5. The Bell can also quest here for 5 if he inks another card. And for 4 we see a Flaversham. 1 sphere is gone, draw 2 cards. So 5 open, potentially he can ink 3 cards here, 2 normal cards that can go into the inkwell through Bell and 1 through Fishbone Quill. Inks the Tink. Thinking about optimized spending, and for 6 he plays Ariel. Still potentially 2 inkables open. Inks face down card and quest for 5. Here with the Bell, since the inkwell is at least 10 cards currently. So the Ariel is in a kind of an awkward spot, since she currently only quests for 3, since player 1 has more items with 3, 2 Fishbone Quills and a Popsicle in play. That prevents Ariel from getting that bonus, since player 2 only has 2 items. And we see another Popsicle, that is a clear redraw, and I think there is a setup potential here for if found a Tamatoa into a Lucky Dime, and that should be, I think, game. Okay. Flaversham challenging Bell and then getting smashed. So this Flaversham should have 2 damage on it, which both players don't realize. And we see there comes a Tinkerbell. So 1 damage on Flaversham and 1 on Ariel. Let's see if both players realize mistake. I think he doesn't want a whole new world here. This is an awkward spot to whole new world, since he has the dime in hand. So he will just quest for 2 and pass the turn. So we'll keep in mind for the players that the Flaversham should have 2 damage. We'll see how relevant this is. There is a Popsicle and a redraw. That is a Cogsworth. No, sorry, that's a Tamatoa. For 8, if we get Tamatoa, gets a 40 sphere. For 1 week, we'll get that 40 sphere, we get a redraw. I think that Mickey will go through Fishbone Quill into the ink as well. Okay, that is quite curious. So we just saw player 2 actually found Along Came Zeus. So this is kind of sad, because the Flaversham should have at least 1 damage on it, even though no Cogsworth was out yet. So he should still have 1 damage on it. It should be marked. So this Long Game Zeus is not enough to banish him. It does only 4 damage currently. So the question here is what to do. The area can still quest only for. Okay, this is actually now a weird choice. There was a grab your sword also in hand, but I think this should probably seal the deal here for player 1. We saw the Lucky Dime in hand. Oh, even found another card. The other card is another Cogsworth. So this is just more punishment. So this is basically at this point he cannot grab your sword and things do nothing, and sings a whole new world. Drops discards here his Lucky Dime to find 7 new cards. Find a Tamatoa maybe to answer. And we'll see if player 2 finds here a dime, he could potentially, we'll see, he has 3 items in play. It depends what his hand is, but he could set up for a really strong turn. So I see 2 sphere, 40 spheres in hand. So that's another 2 lore with the Tamatoa would bring him up to potentially 6. So that's 12 if a dime is found. I think that should be lethal, right? If he finds the sphere, the dime. So he has 6, he has 12, 13, 14 potentially, yes, so he should have enough if he finds the dime to win this game if this Tamatoa survives. So this is a big decision. If Ariel can also quest for 5, I think player 2 has still a good chance to win. It really depends if he finds that dime. He still hasn't seen it, or both of them, so we'll see if he can find it. Player 1 here in a really good position, 2 Cogsworth on field, 2 Fishbone Quill and Flaversham. So the Tink banishes the Flaversham and deals 2 damage to Tamatoa, 2 more, so that's 7. And a Baboom, and I think that should probably decide the game here, even though player 1 will not win the next turn. The setup he has now is too oppressive and there is no coming back here, sadly. So the real question here is the question here is, should he have sacked the Popsicle to heal the Flaversham, because then he would have had to invest. He wouldn't have been able to kill, to banish that Flaversham. And I think now this is probably game. There is currently on board 6, 2 through Tinkerbell, 4 through both Cogsworth, 1 through Flaversham and 2 through Smee. So the clock is quite fast, and we'll see if when he finds even a lucky dime here, we should see the end. And has 2 Cogsworth in hand, plays a dime and gains 5. So he can potentially still threaten. To win here. If the opponent doesn't have more items in play, which is kind of insane. There's a total of 7 on player 2's board, and currently 4 on player 1. So player 1 here needs to have an answer for that Ariel, or needs to find an answer for Lucky Dime. We'll see what his plan here is. There's also a chance that he could just play more items. The problem is we already saw there's 2 Fishbone Quill in play, 1 got inked. There is a 40 feet that got inked, so there's at least 1 more in grave. And he finds grab your sword. So this grab your sword here could actually help quite a lot. If he has 2, I will see. So that's 2 more damage to Ariel. And an avalanche, that is it, yeah. And that is 1 more damage to the aerial and should remove if there was a location. And I think, yeah, that this is just overkill from player 2. For player 2, and let's see, if he potentially finds Tamatoa, there's a rise of the Titans he found. He has an aerial in hand as well, so the aerial will gain him another 5. But can he survive another turn? I don't think that is happening. And that is game 2-0 for player 1 here, Blue Steel Mirror. Yeah, we saw some decisions from both players that were key, and hopefully you enjoyed the games. If you want to see the deck lists, there is an Ink Decks list in the description where you see the entire tournament and the decks. Plus, I'll put, if you have any questions, please write them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the next round.